Hello, everyone. Welcome to season three of Beauty and Gratitude. And as you know, I have great interviews and people that I find very interesting, from artists to athletes to people who are covering world issues. In the future, I have Martin Malawazada. He's actually not going to talk about makeup this time. He's going to talk about Afghanistan and how his organization is pulling individuals and families out of Afghanistan at this present moment. So we're bumping this interview up, Juliet Silva-Yee and Reggie Walker, for episode two, to talk about just all things about being creative and flowing through life and beauty, the beauty of life, and things that they're grateful for. As you know, my book, 100 Days of Gratitude, is really about leaning into what makes us present, the now in life, and also about the intentionality of the future. So thank you for tuning in to Beauty and Gratitude. And I would like to introduce my dear friend, Juliet Silva-Yee, who I've met over a decade ago, possibly longer. Someone that I have collaborated with art shows and just worked on productions with TV and film, and who has always been a light and always with the best intentions of bringing artists and creatives and people together that she does so eloquently well. And I'd like to introduce her. Juliet, come on in, honey.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And I know you're taking time out of your day on the East Coast, and I appreciate it. Um, I want to just dive into doing living, because this is really how we connected. We met on a photo shoot. I think it was for a big MTV job. And I hounded you for years. And then finally, you had an idea and you were like, D'Angelo, I want to do an art collective, an art showcase. I was like, this is right up my alley, because I had already done a few, curated art productions or art installations. And I was like, I will totally help with this. And we created some magic. So that, I would say, was the inception of Doing Living.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell us what Doing Living is.
Yeah, like you said, and it's funny because when I came to you, I had a vision of this art event with Veronica, actually. Hopefully you'll interview her. I'm sure you will.
I need
Um,
to. Yes, I need
yes,
to.
yes.
You.
We were working on a BAM opera, and she was showing me some of her works from her latest photos from she was shooting Lady Gaga at the Slipper Room
I
downtown.
remember. Yes.
And I was like, "Oh my God, these are fantastic!" And Lady Starlight, and like why haven't we seen these? Everyone needs to experience these, and that's how it started. And then you came to mind because I thought you might know of, because I knew you were friendly with so many photographers, and I remember you had a particular photographer at the time that I think had a newer space, or I don't know, but I didn't know that you had previous experience,
Oh,
producing
wow.
art, at the time. So that was cool, and we had all these connections: San Francisco, um, going to performing arts
Great.
high
Yes.
schools, right?
Mhm.
Like we had a lot in common, more so than I realized. So yeah, I mean, that one pop-up art event, we launched it, what was that, 2012,
Or maybe earlier. Maybe early.
11?
No, it's 2012, because I was at, yes,
Yeah,
2012.
2012. Yeah, because next year's 10-year
Yes. Wow.
anniversary. um
Wow.
right, decade. Wow. um but yeah, and that just it was like we were doing makeup, and I was getting to the point in my makeup career where I was like, I need something else, a
Mhm.
creative expression of my of some form. So we got, how many artists did we get together the first pop-up art event? Seven,
It was
11,
probably 7 or 8 of them.
7, yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
And it's great to see some of their careers flourish, and we showcased, it was Fashion Week, and we showcased friends of ours that had landed in either styling, TV, film, fashion, but moved to New York to pursue their art. And so we
Right.
showcased them, for the first time, some of them in showing their artwork. There was a lot of them very accomplished makeup artists, stylists, whatnot. So that
Mhm.
was fun. And then, yeah, and then Apothecary Pop Up was the
Mhm.
next iteration. That was a funny, South Street Seaport. Howard Hughes was coming in. The neighborhood didn't like it. They needed us to bridge that gap, bring
Mhm.
culture and bring in the neighborhood, the businesses. So, and then we were given a space, and I was like, well, it's weird to sell art at a outdoor fair, so Apothecary pop-up was born.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
yeah, so I was also going through like health issues at the time, so I was really becoming aware of the products that was in my kit. And once I
Yes.
had that awareness, I was like, how can I put this makeup on my clients without educating them first? So pop Apothecary pop-ups were more of an educational platform. We had conscious conversations, and we had multiple events and summits and conferences and whatnot around that, and then doing Living Marketplace.
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and should I mean, I feel like I'm talking too much, but should
No,
I?
you're not. I'm glad you're sharing because you're sharing the progression of, doing living,
Yeah,
from pop-up art events to the apothecary to doing living, which I think is a great business name. I think it's a great concept. Um, you've always been ahead of your time. I hope you know that. And like you said, a lot of artists that we showcase have jumped off into different stratospheres, in many ways. I know some of the artists that I worked with years ago, before I think, I would say 15, 20 years ago, like Disney Nassaborg, John Para, Kina Gonzalez, and I can name, I have art from people that I bought for a few $1,000s that are worth over 200,000 now or
sure.
more,
Yeah,
say
absolutely.
that
Well,
on the
it's like
web.
when, right. It's like when we did the pop up with Say Adams and Jeanette Beckman, and
Right.
that mashup, and then that mashup went around the world, and then it ended up at the New York City Museum, and it just keeps growing. It's this incredible thing that we started, as a salon style in Jeanette's studio
Yes,
um,
yes.
in the
That
village.
and
So,
that's the beauty of it. How has life changed for you? How's it shifting? 2020, of course, and beyond that, because you shifted out of makeup. I mean, probably a year or so before that. So
yeah.
how has life been for you, the shifts?
The shifts have been interesting because I identified myself as a makeup artist, as a
Hmm.
professional makeup artist for over 20 years, and so
Right.
it's an interesting, but also maintaining. I was doing the pop ups, and then I started doing living, and I had the showroom in Soho, so I was simultaneously juggling it all, but I always identified as a makeup artist. So it's kind of like a um, uh, mind bender
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes.
This I'm no longer this person that I was, and and now I have this through line of all the things I'm doing, but they all make sense, even though at the time they felt very fragmented.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but the life's starting to make more sense, even though it doesn't make any sense, if that makes sense.
It does. And Juliet, I believe that we are, and I say this all the time, not only to friends, but to myself and family, we are multidimensional beings. We're
Totally.
not, Reggie's coming on later. We're not just an NFL player. He's an author, he's a father, he's an advocate. You are an artist, you are an entrepreneur, you're a curator, you're many things, you're a caretaker, you're a sister, you're a wife. There are many parts of who we are. So we wear many hats and beautifully because we're multidimensional beings, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm truly embracing the multi hyphenate.
Yes.
So yeah.
What would you want your legacy to be?
Mm, whoa, I need some time with that one.
Okay.
But just like off the top of my head, I hope that the legacy is, if anybody remembers me, if I die tomorrow, and if we had an interaction, that I hope I made you feel seen, and I hope that I was open hearted enough that you felt that connection, that I see you as a person.
I would agree, and that's perfect. And that's the top of your head. And if I was to say that about you, that's what it would be.
Mm.
How do you practice gratitude?
How do I practice gratitude? Um, every day, really. I mean, especially right now, I'm grateful to be born in a first world country where I have, the ability to go to school and do the things I want to do. That's like right now, that's top of heart, I think. And knowing
Yeah,
that so many people don't have that opportunity
yeah.
it's heavy on the heart. I could
Very
cry.
heavy.
I could cry.
Yeah. I know. It's funny. I was talking to a friend last night, Talari. You know Talari. She's here in LA, and we were talking, and we had mentioned like Afghanistan and seeing people like attaching themselves to planes and planes taking off. This kid, he's 14, soccer player, not to get too heavy, but the plane elevated and he fell off
I saw
backward.
that. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I have chills all over my body.
Mm.
As a human being, and anyone listening to this, whether you agree with my politics or not, and this is not a political show, let me be clear about that. Um, as a human being, that has to be horrific. And you have to see that young man as your child, as your cousin, your brother, your friend. Um, yeah, so living in a first world country, we have our problems, of course, but you are reminded that you can go to school. I can speak my mind. You can speak your mind.
Yeah.
We have options.
Yeah.
That would be the
Well,
best word.
absolutely. Like I was in North Africa last year or the year before when we could travel and it was safe. And we were with this group of girls, Project Source, something to look up actually. It's an
Mm,
amazing
write it
organization.
down. Okay.
Um, but those girls can't go to school when they're on, when during the month when they have their period
Oh, because of religious reasons.
because they don't have the proper sanitation
Oh,
tools.
wow. Okay. Okay.
Like stuff like that. It's just boggles my mind, and I'm just so grateful. And I want to help so much. Like but you can't help. You gotta like. I get
Yes.
so overwhelmed. Like I need to help. But
Hmm.
being more, I guess, strategic in
Yes.
how to do so
And
somehow.
this is why I wanted you on the show because your intentionality is to help and empower, especially young women around the world. And that has always, I think, been a thread running through everything. Um, thank you for this. How has your family, how have they guided you, your elders? When you think about, I only know their names or you mentioned them, like your aunts, your uncle, your grandfather, your grandmother.
Mm,
I feel like I've met them, but I haven't. But I definitely see that in you and your sister, Ariel.
mm.
So, how have they guided you? How have they led you?
It's like my dad says it. They like my mama Tina, my dad says his my
Mhm.
grandmother. We have her heart. and
Mm,
and we have and we have that grandmother's heart, and we have the hearts of our grandmothers, and all the struggles and oof, they've been through with the being Mexican and in the United States back in the day was not,
mhm.
it's what we're seeing now with, again, I don't want to get political or anything, but like these,
It's true. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, our ancestors and what they've gone through. Again, another grateful moment. Like, oh my God, I almost feel the need to like make something of my life, whatever that is, it's because they struggled so
Mhm. Mhm.
much.
And you're a living example of the possibility, right? You're walking through doors that maybe they didn't walk through, or that they did, because I know some of them were performers, so they
Yeah,
did get to see the world and the country.
that was
Um,
the other side of the family. Yeah, but like my grandmother, Mama Tina, in a small town in Arizona, she was not allowed to swim in the public pool. And then several years later, she was the first Mexican allowed to swim in that public pool in their town.
that's see, trailblazers, and it's like small but huge, right? Because they saw her as human, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's the funny thing. She's also my key tether to beauty. She taught me.
Mhm.
She got us. I don't know if you remember Revanescence. It was
No, I don't. No.
okay. It doesn't exist any longer. But everyone, when you turned 16, you got Revanescence, and
Hmm.
it was for your skin. It was this like oily kind of substance, and it smelled really good. It came in this like fancy black shiny bottle with a like, yeah, gold top. But
Oh, wow.
and I remember my mom like, don't you think this oily product is gonna break Juliet out? Because I already was getting like little pimples and whatnot. And my mom and Tina's like, oh no, use it. And anyway, why did I tell you that? the
Because
be-
it makes your
oh
connection to beauty. Yeah, through your grandmother.
well, that and being hyper aware of the exterior and the smells. Like she was like, you don't want to be the person. I always remember this. You don't want to be the person walking in the grocery store that walks by and you can smell their hair.
Mm.
But that's based on her, the Mexican thing, like dirty, stinky. And
Mm.
so doing extra
Right.
in order, she didn't go to the grocery store unless she put her eyelashes on and her red lipstick, Revlon, and curled her
Yes.
hair and put the
Mhm.
perfume on. So anyway,
That's
I
interesting. My mom
digress.
is like that too because she grew up in the rural South during segregation. So she would always put her mascara on, and she's worn a plum lipstick for most of her life. And I'm reminded sometimes the things that we went through in 2020 and beyond, why she's the way she is.
Yeah.
And I have more empathy and understanding for what she's gone through to get us to where we are,
Hmm.
today. So I think that's the legacy that our grandparents and our parents give to us, the gift, really.
Yeah,
Uh, they go through the fire so we can, you
absolutely.
know,
Yeah,
understand the fire. Uh,
absolutely.
I know that, doing living, I know there's a lot going on in the future, and I'll keep our viewers in tune. I'll do another article on you in the magazine about
Aw.
doing when you're ready. Um, but you have a book club because I've seen
Yes.
posts on, so talk about the book club, please.
Okay. Yeah, I started that actually really for selfish reasons. During the all of doing living was in real life experientials, right? So once the pandemic hit, and now even I see many people experientials opening up, it doesn't feel right now for us.
Okay.
Um, so we went online and we were hosting lots of workshops and different seminars and whatnot. But and then the book club. I haven't read a book in its entirety since I lived uptown. I used to ride the subway for like an hour
Yeah.
downtown commute, and then once I moved downtown, I stopped riding the subway, or it was like one stop, two stops. Yeah, so I haven't finished a book. So anyway, it was really an excuse for me to finish a book and interact with some friends and family. It's fun. Some of my family's on there. My dad's joining actually next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, it gives us something, a tether to ground our conversations and really have a heart to heart, like, and get into it
Hmm.
immediately. Because we started with What Happened to You by Oprah Winfrey and Bruce Perry. So
Beautiful. Mm.
yeah, I think that's his name. I might have botched his name, but anyway, yeah, it's what happened to you versus what's wrong with you.
Right, right. What happened to you? That's a powerful question, actually.
Yeah,
Wow. That's maybe another show.
yeah.
I will say it's a perfect segue because we have Reggie Walker, who's a former NFL player, but also he wrote a new book called The Game Within the Game. So, Juliet, we're gonna leave you, but please
Okay,
stay here because I
okay,
want you to come back for the round table,
okay.
and we're gonna take a break, and then we'll have Reggie Walker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Life is full of moments. And when sickness breaks your momentum, from the 5 a.m. stomach bug, or stress and anxiety at work, don't forget you have Teladoc. Great care options by phone, video, or app. 24/7 access to doctors. And access to therapists 7 days a week. From anywhere you are. Day or night. Whatever it is, we're always ready to help. So you can get back to enjoying life's best moments faster. Life is good. Enjoy it well.
Visit a doctor today without even leaving your home. For as little as $19.95 per month for a family plan, you get access to board-certified physicians as often as you need it, and there's $0 for medical visits anytime, anywhere. Register now by visiting solivity.com/health perks. That's solivity.com/health perks. You can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Solivity at go.solivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Solivity.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beauty and Gratitude. I would like to bring in our next guest, which is Reggie Walker, former NFL player, also author of The Game Within the Game. So we're going to talk about his book, family, everything. So Reggie, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Doing really good. Pumped about the book coming out. Also, just found out literally last night that my course is going to be up with the Knowledge and Innovation Center, in partnership with Forbes Business School. So we're humming. So we're getting it out.
What's beautiful is that everything, I know you've been working on all of these projects quietly and with David, for a while now. And now I'm seeing the fruit of your labor, which is amazing. Tell us about your book, The Game Within the Game.
So when I retired, I really only wanted to do one thing. I went through a process of circling back to that thing, but the only thing I really wanted to do was help people avoid, like, kids who were like me, who didn't really have necessarily the guidance or had gone through a lot of bad situations, or really just athletes. It's really meant for a lot of people, but people who are going through these high stress, high stakes environments, on how to get through them and not just survive the process, but thrive during it. And I wanted to make something to help a really wide demographic. The book is kind of tailored towards athletes in ways, but the information in it is really something that it's for everyone, because essentially it really is just about how to be your best self.
Yes.
And it was a process. I tell people writing the book sucked. It was awful. It was not cool. That's why it took me 3 years, because I went and did the whole thing with an outline at first. Ugh, don't ever do that. And then I decided to write the course at the same time. So I went into a cave literally for years and I only had one goal, to just help all these people. And now that I'm finally here and getting it out, like, it's surreal. It really is.
Yes. Intention is very powerful, and I can see a certain lift off of you, a light, if you will. The pressure is gone. Now you're in teaching mode and sharing mode. So you birthed that beautiful child, which is within the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you have your workshop, and now the book. When does the book come out?
The book actually just came out, like, not too long ago, so it's out. People can grab it on Amazon, and the course just is up now. It's being ran through the Knowledge and Innovation Center. And dope part about it is people can take the course and get college credit for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I really wanted to make it so you're going to get this information. Yeah, you're going to get this information. So, yeah. And like you said too, we have been grinding for months on this and getting next to no sleep. So that weight, you're right, it is definitely off my shoulders. But now it's just, I wonder what people are going to like. How's this going to be received? And you're just curious.
I think it's going to be well received, because, like I said, with Juliet, intention is everything, and whether you reach one person, 100, or a million, Reggie, you're doing your work, your purpose, right? Your passion. So I want to know, what do you think your legacy will be for the future generations, not only your children, but just for the world in general?
My legacy, I want, when I die, I want people to say, man, that guy helped a hell of a lot of people.
Yes.
He helped to save a lot of people. He helped a lot of people who needed the help. Um, he helped create a different environment for a lot of people who needed it. And I think that's what I want to do at the end of the day.
It's interesting. I think you give people like myself and many others permission to be vulnerable, you know, especially men, you're an athlete, I'm not, but I know what that is because I have many people in my family who are, and many friends who are married to athletes, professional athletes. So you give them permission to be vulnerable. And I think it's so important. And I will push that agenda into the ether, so
Oh yeah.
everyone has contact with. Do you have any regrets in life?
I can't. No.
Powerful. Wow.
No, I really can't say that I do, because you understand that everything is a lesson.
Yes.
And I wouldn't take back any of the lessons that I learned, even
Yes.
though I've really dealt with some really horrible situations, people, things, problems. I wouldn't take them back, because that growth that I gained from it was so invaluable that, I wouldn't take any of that back. No, I wouldn't say I have any regrets. I wish I could have done some things better so I didn't have to get hit by this humbling lesson, but I'm glad I got the lesson.
Yes. Oftentimes, I can see something going on with a friend, professionally or personally, and I want to warn them, but a part of me goes, D'Angelo, that's not for you to do. They need to learn this lesson. It's like when you have a child, right? I have nephews and nieces and etc. I can see some things they're doing, and sometimes I'll fire up and be like, you know what? If you do this, this is gonna happen. But most times I'm quiet because I'm like, you know what? They need to learn this lesson, with understanding not everyone has integrity, and not everyone has your best intention at heart. And I think that's very important for people to learn. They may talk the game, but are they really living and living example of it? I would say, I would want to ask you as well, like, how is your grace manifested in your children?
Ooh, it's been a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely been a process, because um I see myself in my children more and more each day, because one of the main things that I really want to teach them is I want them to believe in themselves, and I
Yes.
want them to be strong in themselves.
Yes.
And I also want them to be vulnerable with themselves, like understand, like, cut the shit with themselves,
Right.
essentially. Like, I'm good at this, I'm not so hot at this.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not be good at it. You're not going to be good at everything. It's impossible. Like, you don't have enough time to be
Yes.
good, to dive in and give those hours. But I would say my kids, their grace is more manifested in me than anything, because before
Mm.
them, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing was getting in. Nothing
Right.
was getting in. I was just this cold guy who
Mm.
really was not in touch with my emotions, not in touch with myself. I was wearing a mask all over the place.
Mhm.
Um, and with my kids, they've opened me up to a whole different reality.
So they
So
cracked open your heart. They cracked
they
open your
did.
heart. I was reading a psychology book and it talked about grace. Like when you're having an argument with your partner or someone you love, whoever it is, that sometimes instead of trying to win the argument, you have to extend grace. And the same thing happens with our children. Sometimes you're trying to get something across to, someone you're mentoring or whatever, they're not getting it. And sometimes you just have to extend them grace and be like, you know what? I'm not gonna try to win this argument, even though I can. I'm not gonna try to win it. I'm going to extend grace to you. And I thought it was very beautiful because in psychiatry, you don't think that that's a component, but it truly is, extending grace to those you love.
Totally.
I would, one other question, like, well, two, what are you grateful for?
I'm one grateful to be here.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
because I felt as if for the first 27, 28 years of my life, I was just doing things to like kill myself. I was very depressed. I was a miserable person inside. And
Wow.
so one, I'm glad that I pushed through that and got to the other side, and I'm here. And
Yes.
I'm also grateful for my kids, my wife, the people who I do have in my circle, and
Yes.
I'm also grateful for the people that took themselves out of my circle.
Mm.
Um,
Powerful. Mm.
really grateful for that because it really helped me. The everyone has a little lesson with them, and it helped me to really understand who I need to be surrounding myself with and who I need to be giving my time to, and not be so readily available for
Hmm.
anyone and everyone when it comes
Yes.
down to things. Because when you're like, you got a big heart and you want to help a lot of people, help, like if you don't have boundaries, it it just burns you out. You can't help
Yes.
everyone. And just like you said, some people have to touch the fire themselves, you know.
Yes. It's interesting. Juliet used that same word, boundaries, understanding boundaries as she moves through life. And I would agree with both of you. Boundaries are so important. I have them with family, I have them with friends, I have them with clients because I've told myself even before 2020 that I would not work with clients that were disrespectful and didn't value my time as much as I valued theirs. So, for instance, if I came to their office to do their makeup for something and it was supposed to be a 90-minute gig in and out, but they got me sitting there for 3 hours, 4 hours, it would reflect in the invoice as well. But also, I started to understand, this may be a top exec and a music label, but they're not respecting my time either. Because I could have had 3 clients in that one day, or 4 for that matter. I had to release that client and I was okay with it. And most people are like, are you crazy? This person is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't care because boundaries are important. Respect is mutual, you know? And my mom taught me that. And she always used to say it. And I never understood why does she keep saying the same thing? Like, treat people at the same level as you. Do not hold them up as a god or goddess. And that is, I'm a god, you're a god, Juliet's a goddess. We're all here, right? So the other question I have, do you plan to tour for your book, The Game Within the Game?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing a lot. We're formulating a lot of this stuff right now,
Okay.
especially since the course got up a lot faster than we anticipated.
Mhm.
So it's a good problem. But now we're hitting the hyperjets to kind of get everything situated as we speak. But we're gonna try and get this thing everywhere, dude. Everywhere.
Yeah. And I will be in the audience. Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate that.
I want to bring in Juliet again. I have a round table, a few questions for both of you. And I just want to really thank you both for taking the time out of your day to come on. And I see a light in both of you. I see a shift. And I'm so glad that I reached out, and that you're a part of this. There's a season 3 of Beauty and Gratitude. So thank you both very much. And Reggie, I think you did my first season, if I'm not mistaken, or my
Oh
second, no,
yeah.
my second season, second season. Yes. So thank you for that as well. So my question to both of you, welcome back, Juliet. My question to both of you is, Juliet, I put it to you first.
Okay.
How do you share your light with the world? How do you keep it?
How do I keep it? I've had to learn. I've had
Mm,
to learn again, going back to what Reggie and you said about boundaries. I didn't know what they were before. I had no concept, really. Um, so, but like, is it Rene Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am," and
mhm. Yes,
that pretty
yes,
much sums it up. If
yes. I am
I
that I am. Hmm.
Yeah, and just walking into any situation knowing that I am light and I have choice and no one can harm.
Yes,
No one can
yes.
take. No one can take,
Love
unless you let them. Maybe
unless you let them.
unless you let them. Yeah.
Reggie, how do you own your light and keep your light?
I I practice fearlessness
Mm,
because um when when you're bearing yourself to the world, there is a fear in doing it. But I understand with it, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And for me to do that, I have to literally practice being fearless because in the reality of the situation, inside, I do feel a lot of fear. And I
mm,
do feel a lot of the doubt or confidence, like lack of confidence. But I turn it off and I practice turning it off and I practice jumping off that cliff, metaphorically speaking, into what I am. And
mm.
I just own it. I own it. Whatever I am, I own it. Whatever I am that day, I own it. And I do it unapologetically and fearless because I don't want to be on my deathbed really thinking that I lived life in fear or I
Right.
lived I lived a whole life and I wasn't myself. To
Yes.
me, that's way worse than living with low self-confidence or keeping everything to myself or even wearing a mask every day. So
Right.
practice that.
That's beautiful. And for myself, guys, I keep my light by saying yes to myself, like, in my late 40s, I decided to move to LA, and most people are like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're in a career right now. You're doing well. Why would you leave New York? I'm like, I'm not leaving New York. I'll come back, for work or whatever, but I'm saying yes to myself. And if I want to live in London next year, I'm going to say yes to myself. I think that's how you keep your light is by honoring the yeses and the nos, but also the powerful yes. I want to say to both of you, I find you to be both two very grounded people. And Reggie, I'm getting to know you more, but I feel like I've known you a long time and I appreciate it. And I'm glad that I'm meeting the man now because maybe the man before we would have never connected. So that
Mhm.
says a lot, the evolution. How do you stay grounded, Reggie?
I I put myself on the same level as everyone else.
Mm,
I played that game of I'm here and you're here, so you stay there and I'm gonna be up here, and then I play the game of you're way up here and I'm down here, and
mhm,
and then you realize, nah, man, I just need to keep it right here. With no matter if this person has more money than me or more a bigger sphere of influence, it doesn't matter. This is just a human being, just like me,
yeah,
and I talk to everybody that same way, and I make it a point to keep things there, even if the other person wants to do that with me, because a lot of people do that, which is
posturing, yeah.
unfortunate. It's very
Mhm.
unfortunate because I don't do that, but I keep the people level.
Yes, that's beautiful. Juliet, how do you stay grounded?
Um, I resonate with what Reggie says. It's that it's being just seeing eye to eye with all human beings. We're all doing this thing,
Mhm.
right? We all feel pain, whether whatever inflicted that pain. We all feel pain the same way. We all feel joy, love, all those things. So I think that's what keeps me grounded, knowing that. And see,
Yes.
I always see the child in people. I see like
Yeah.
I picture like a little toddler. I just that's how it is, and I can also see people as older, wiser versions
Mhm.
of themselves. So I don't know. It's a fun thing to do, and like even now while I'm staring at both of you, I'm thinking you as little children and how cute you was.
I was doing this as a little kid. I was doing interviews. I was designing, doing all kinds of stuff.
Of course
We
you were.
are children in many ways, and we are wise in many ways. I would say that's how the creator looks at us as children, you know, and just understanding that they're going through their process,
Yeah,
however dark it is and however light it is, it's
yeah.
a process.
I
I
think
want to,
that's what it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
what were you saying? Mhm.
Just that thing in kids when you are around kids and that childlike essence, and if you can maintain that within yourself, if you can get there, every day before you show up with others, I think that's a really grounding tool.
It is. And, I giggle a lot with sometimes people hear me giggle. They're like, what are you giggling about? I'm like, I'm laughing at myself.
That's why I
Or,
love being on set with you.
or I'm laughing at a situation around me because come on, Juliet, people get so hyped up over nonsense.
Yeah.
I remember, this back in 2012, working with a certain person that just did not respect time. It would be 3 hours, 2 hours late. Well, it led me into so much stress, internal stress, that I broke out with a severe case of shingles. I think you remember that.
Yeah.
That my doctor said to me, D'Angelo, you can't go to Florida. Like, you need to stay here and stay in bed for 10 days. And I was pissed because I was looking forward to going to Miami to do that
Yeah.
shoot. And it worked out. I was able to bless someone else with the opportunity, number one. And then number two, it made me sit still for 10 days in my apartment as I was healing.
Mhm.
Because Reggie, it went all the way through like a serious breakout on my back, around my arm, and around my nipple area. And it was like, ouch. And when I say I didn't wish that on my worst enemy, it is so true. But during that process, my point is that it made me sit still, and it made me remember who I am and not lose the joy in being a makeup artist, and not losing the joy in being a creator, and also learning how to set boundaries. It comes back full circle with our conversation about boundaries, gratitude, everything that you guys do. Reggie, as an athlete, as an author, as a father, as a friend, as a mentor, as a mentee, you're all those things, right? And then Juliet, as I consider you a teacher, a very wise woman, a person that's empathic around people, creative, the mother, the divine goddess, in many ways. So thank each of you for being on my show, Beauty and Gratitude. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank
Thank you,
you
guys.
so much. This is
Thank
such a
you
great
so much.
platform.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Beauty and Gratitude. And stay tuned for next week, where I will have Mateen Malawazada from Afghan Hands. We will discuss Afghanistan. Also, I have Mariela Garriga, a wonderful actress. She's Cuban, but she's acted in Hollywood as well as in Italy. And she's going to talk about Cuba. And we had a very interesting experience around Cuba. So we're going to talk about that and just really how to bring more light into the world. So thank each of you for tuning in to Beauty and Gratitude. And I'll see you here very soon. Take care.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Solivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
You've all done autism awareness training, but what did you really become aware of? That autistic people have obsessive and repetitive behaviours, have trouble making eye contact, don't really make friends easily. It's time for that form of training to go, because what everybody needs, whether it's autistic children or adults in the workplace, is acceptance. So what I would like you to do is to think of everything that you've ever learned about autism and autistic people, crump it all up and throw it away, because this is something completely different. It's an entirely new model of training. It's about neurodiversity, it's about acceptance, and it's how autistic people like me and everyone else out there can grow to live happy and successful lives in school and in the workplace. My name's Jude Morrow, and this is Neurodiversity.
Solivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing want to remind you about the importance of continuing to follow public health guidelines to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Please continue to wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Please visit these sites for further information about how to stay safe from COVID-19 into the new year. Remember, love protects us.
Welcome to New York City. This is D'angelo Thompson doing an interview for Solivity.com. We're interviewing Lori Esposito, hair and makeup artist. Welcome, Lori. How are you?
Hi, D'angelo. I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry.
Well, I actually grew up in the industry. My dad was a hairdresser here back in the 60s. I had a salon on Riverside Drive called International Coiffure. So that was my first introduction into the beauty industry. And so with that, my passion grew for doing hair and makeup.
Okay. So how many years have you been a hairstylist and makeup artist?
I've been doing hair, I'll say, over 30 years.
Okay, so that's a few decades.
It is. I had an opportunity to see many different times in the decades of different looks and different styles. So, it really helps me to understand the transitions of how it all works.
Okay, how has that changed?
Oh, you know what, I find it really interesting because, going through several different decades of the beauty industry, what happens is everything kind of evolves back, but changes just slightly. So stuff that was done in the 60s, you might see now in the year 2000, but just with a little bit of a shift.
Okay. What do you think has changed as far as hair care, hair treatment in the guise of organic?
Yes. So about 10 years ago, I chose to go into the organic field of hairdressing with the products and stuff because, we're surrounded by so many chemicals with this, the colors and things like that. And now, because I want to be doing hair a lot longer, I don't want to be exposed to the toxins. So now I'm finding that by using more organic products on the hair and the integrity of it is becoming much more healthier.
Okay. And I know that you do organic color as well. Mm-hmm. What made you choose that route?
Well, because I wanted to really show people that it wasn't necessary to have to use harsh chemicals on their hair, which in return really improved the integrity of the hair health. Okay. So there was a lot more shine coming out of the hair, there was less damage, and plus for the environment that we work in, because we tend to work in very closed places, it really was much more healthier for us in the whole.
So more health for yourself and for your clients.
Yeah, for both of us. Yeah,
okay.
For both of us.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So tell me about what makeup companies you've worked for through the years.
Oh yes, I've been doing makeup since the late 70s, I'd say early 80s.
Wow.
And there was a company back then called About Face, which was the first introduction for doing makeup. And it's so funny because, when I talk with people who are in the industry as long as I am, and we talk about it, it was like, oh my God, you were with that company too. So yeah, so back in the early 80s is when I got first introduced. And then, went into the, when MAC became very big and when it first came out. And then, there's a couple different lines. But, at the same time, if you go out and just in your local drugstores, you can really get some classic finds there that are, diehards.
What are your favorite products now?
I really like to use the Makeup Forever. Mm-hmm. Is one of my favorites. One of my favorite hairdressers in New York City here recommended it. I do have some MAC that I still use, little old school stuff, but there is a product that I love to use that I swear about, and it's by L'Oreal. You can get it in your local drugstore. It's called a Skin Beautifier, and it's a BB cream, and it's magic. It is beautiful, and I have actually, when I use it on clients, they're like, where can I get it?
Okay.
So.
What have been some of your clients in the past few years, past decades?
Well, you know, I've done a lot of Fashion Week and stuff. So, you know, working on the fashion shows, you know, you have some celebrities that come in there. I generally work with a lot of people in corporate America, you know, I would say. But I've done I've done a lot of work with some of the local designers, you know, doing editorial work. So there's some models that I've done some models from Tyra's, you know, America's Next Model, Top Model, and all that. So generally more in the fashion, more so than in the celebrity status. But, you know, back in the 80s, I actually did some charitable events where, you know, I worked on Connie Stevens and, you know, a couple of the old school people there, so.
Old school and fabulous.
Yes.
Yes. So I know that you're a business owner as well. How long have you been a business owner? Where did you start your salon? Where are you now?
I was born in New York City, but then I moved to Florida, to the West Coast. So I did own a salon there. It was called Lori Ellen and Company. And I had it for about 12 years. So that was my first introduction into going into the business end of the beauty industry, which I wanted to have a little bit of that too. Excuse me. And so working in the business end, it kind of gave me another end of it. And then, what did you ask me? I'm sorry.
Just about owning a salon and what made you go into it.
Okay, well, because I wanted to become a little bit more rooted somewhere, and I wanted to learn about that part of the industry, you know, and have a staff. You know, I've always been into education also, as far as teaching others. You know, I worked with Tony and Guy for about 10 years in Dallas and was one of their educational directors. So it was there that I learned how to educate other hairdressers, and I traveled around, did platform work, but it was, you know, that passion of teaching others too, which really was something I was interested in.
And then moving back to New York City, like it's a full circle moment.
Yes, yes. You know, it was always had this calling to come back here. You know, I was born here and I was moved away when I was young, built up my career, and then, but always had a feeling of coming back to New York. I would always travel back and forth. I would go to hair shows when the Coliseum was still here. And I'd go and just get this feel, and I always wanted to come back here. So 6 years ago, I decided to sell my salon in Florida and come and make my business up here in New York. And it's been amazing.
Wow. And how has been integrating being a business owner in New York, a mom of a gorgeous preteen?
Yes, I have a 12-year-old daughter who goes to school here in New York City, which is kind of interesting. I kind of put myself in her shoes because it's when I had to leave New York, so I get to relive growing up as a child here in New York. But yeah, it's a little bit of a juggle, but you know, I do work for myself. I do a lot of freelance stuff, so, and I work by appointment, so it gives me the freedom to do my craft, but also to be there to be a mom also.
That's great.
Yeah.
And in 30 years in the business, where do you see yourself evolving in the business, your next step, your next chapter or book?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is because now that I'm working for myself, I'm in an amazing little space. I work at LHP, which is Luxury Hair Plus in Midtown. And it's a very, very private, exclusive space. So it's all about when the client comes in that it's all about them, okay? And it's more personalized, so it's not as chaotic as a lot of places might be where you've got 3 or 4 different people working on you. What it is it's a much more exclusive place that gives you that very personable attentiveness, so that it's all about you. And it's funny when people say to me, well, you know, so what's in now? What's the most popular thing? And one of my favorite things to say to them is that it's whatever is going to look best on you, because it's about making you look your best. Not everybody can have purple hair or gray hair or something like that. You know, it's about what makes that individual look their best. And at this point in my career, what I'm finding is that I'm now concentrating on the individual, and what is going to be most best for them, what's going to be healing for them. You know, it's not just the hair, the makeup anymore, it's the whole well-being of the person, because when they're looking good, they're feeling good. And then, you know, being a woman, you know, I'm working, majority of the time I'm working on other women, you know, there's a identification that you have, just what I go through in my own personal life and what I've taught myself and what I feel is making me become a better person, feel better, look better, you know, as I want to share that. So not only do I beautify their look, I'm beautifying their insides also.
Okay. And LHP, they also do hair extensions and wigs.
LHP is a company, owner's Lisa Green, and she specializes with hair extensions, hair pieces. She works with a lot of people who struggle with hair issues, with baldness, and they customize all of their pieces. Everything is handmade and beautifully done to where it looks the most natural.
Okay, that's amazing. Lori, thank you for your time, and
thank you so much.
Tell us about your website.
Oh yes, I have a website, Lori Ellen Artistry, and it's about just talking about, you know, what's the most healthiest things to do for our inside and for our outside, what's some new hair techniques that we're doing, just keeping up with, you know, everyday womanhood. You know, it's all about what's going on with the woman, you know, the mom, the teenager, the young adult, you know, all aspects of that.
Lori, thank you so much for having me interview you for Solivity.com.
Thank you, Solivity.com, for coming and checking it out and seeing what I got.
Love you. Thank you.
Yes.
Life is full of moments. And when sickness breaks your momentum, from the 5 a.m. stomach bug, or stress and anxiety at work, don't forget you have Teladoc. Great care options by phone, video, or app. 24/7 access to doctors. And access to therapists 7 days a week. From anywhere you are. Day or night. Whatever it is, we're always ready to help. So you can get back to enjoying life's best moments faster. Life is good. Enjoy it well.
Visit a doctor today without even leaving your home. For as little as $19.95 per month for a family plan, you get access to board-certified physicians as often as you need it, and there's $0 for medical visits anytime, anywhere. Register now by visiting solivity.com/health perks. That's solivity.com/health perks. You can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Solivity at go.solivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care, it is all there at the Go shop. Go shop